behind the knees, keeping a little bit more space behind the knees. You might be able to sit down a little bit lower, or you might even need to stack your blocks so that you can sit a little bit higher. Okay? You can choose, and if Virasana is not good at all for your knees, hips, or back, then or tops of the feet even, then come to sit in Sukhasana. But with the blanket underneath, you could put a bit of a roll in the blanket. I'll just show from the side here. You could put a little bit of a roll here in your blanket so that when you came down into Virasana, it helps to minimize that space between the shin and the top of the, between the floor and the top of the shin there, so that you could also do that. Okay? So I'll come back to my Virasana. See that you're on your shins, find your sitting bones. Feel the front hip bones lift up, kind of keeping the lower ribs in line with the hips, but these lower floating ribs are pushing forward a lot more than the hips. Okay. We'll bring the hands to the top of the legs. Really feel the sitting bones, tailbone centered. Press the palms down to elongate the spine, to lift the chest. And then as you roll the shoulder bones back, the hands might slide back a little bit. Keep lifting from the base of the sternum up. Feel the softness in the throat. Relaxing the tongue, we can bring the chin down towards the chest. Eyes gazing inward to look as if to the heart. Feel that connection with the head to the heart. The mind surrendering. So our speech, actions, thoughts can come from the heart. And we can even bring the hands together, that gesture of bowing to the divine light within us, within each of us. And acknowledging the teachers who have passed down these teachings through the centuries. You can set an intention for your practice. Release the hands and stay a few breaths longer. Can levelize the head. Feel the crown of the head ascend, the sitting bones descend. The tailbone, might feel as if it's lifting up a little bit higher, as if you're trying to press the sitting bones down, but lift the tailbone up slightly. Really more feeling the perineum lift. The anterior spinals lift from that base up. We broaden the collarbones further. Continue to feel the shoulder blades slide in and down the back. Through that stability of our spine, gently let the abdomen expand away from the spine on the in-breath. Release back on the out-breath. That abdominal breathing, release any gripping you might be holding around your internal organs and around the diaphragm. Feel that percolate up even through the rib cage so that the muscles between the ribs feel more relaxed. As the breath, you're able to feel the rib cage expand and release with your breath. The lungs expanding to the shape of its container. So the more mobility we have in our rib cage, the more the lungs will be able to spread and expand. The back of the head, spine, tailbone in line. And gently bring the front body to the back body, as if you had a wall behind you. And then slowly open the eyes. Let the eyes gaze down to the floor, and then slowly let the eyes rise up so that they're parallel to the floor, looking softly but directly forward. And then we can just start to roll the shoulders a few times. From there, we'll bring the hands together, interlace the fingers, extend the palms, and stretch the arms up, pressing down through the shins. Keep those front floating ribs moving in. Lengthening through the back of the neck, we can look up. And then levelize the head. So we bring the arms back down, change the interlace of the fingers, extend the palms, and reach up once more. If you're a little bit tighter in the neck or shoulders, or have any wrist or shoulder issues, you could keep the palms apart and maybe the arms a little bit wider apart if you need it. Or you might need to keep the arms just down parallel to the floor. Looking up once more if you can, then levelize the head. We'll bring the arms back down. Coming forward and then up, we'll press to the shins, keeping that block between the feet. So I've got that block still between the feet, squeezing the block together. Okay, squeeze the block in from that outer ankle in, feel the inner ankles press into the block, and then lift the front hip bones up without just letting the chest push forward. Those lower ribs move in. Lift the hip bones up, and as you press forward, feel more of a stretch here in the groin. Extend the arms. Rotate the arms from the shoulder. So it's not just the wrist, but from that shoulder. Okay, really get the shoulders in there moving. With the palms facing back, start to stretch the arms back. They'll eventually start to go down a little bit. Okay, keep the arms as parallel to the floor as you can for as long as you can. They eventually kind of start to go down a little bit lower, and then kind of bend and extend. Really almost feeling the tricep a little bit more. Bend and extend, and then kind of squeeze in, bend and extend, squeeze in, bend and extend, and then we'll sweep the arms forward, turn the palms to face forward, catch the thumb and stretch up. Keep pressing down through the shins, and then maybe lean a little bit to one side and come back up, and a little bit to the other side and come back up. Bring the arms down. We sweep them back up, then we'll catch the thumb the opposite way, and we'll repeat that a little bit to one side and back, and then to the other side and back, and then we'll bring the arms down. From here, we're going to bring the right leg out to the side, making a square, heel in line with the center knee on your left leg. Roll that right buttock under and feel the right sitting bone moving towards kind of that right inner knee. We open up through the groin, lifting up to the sides. You can press the hand into the inner knee, extend the left arm, and turn the head to look over the left fingers, and then look beyond the left fingers to the wall. From here, let the head come back forward, bring the forearm to the top of the thigh, and if it's, again, right on your neck and shoulders, stretch the arm up and over the ear, otherwise bring the hand to the hip. Okay, arm coming up and over, and then you might even lean a little bit. Okay, so you have to gauge what is all right for your body, knees, hips back, and you lean a little bit up and down. And then we'll come back up. So we come up, press into that right heel and straighten the right leg, extend both arms. And you might even want to take one of your blocks just behind that to the calf, okay? To the bottom of the calf, giving you something to press into so that you don't just kind of fly out at the back of that knee. If you're a bit tighter, you could raise the block a little bit, giving the calf something to press into, or even angle the block to give the calf something to press into. Okay, so play around with that a little bit, okay? Do you really feel that you're pressing the calf and you're not feeling it in your knee? Okay, so I have my block angled slightly, and I'm really trying to bring that right heel and left leg in closer together. So feel the front hip bones lift up, roll that right inner leg out, and then we go down and up from the top of the thigh, not from the waist or the hip. I'm not bending at the waist, top of the thigh. Resisting that calf into the block so you don't feel it at your knee. And then we can come back up. I'll just move that block and we'll come back to the shins. And we'll repeat that to the other side. Left leg out to the side, bring the hand to the inner knee. So you really want to try and open up in this inner groin area. Sitting bone, towards even say that right heel or towards the back of the knee. As we press the hand into the knee gently, we're revolving away from that leg. Can extend the arm and turn, look over the right fingers. Look to the fingers and then way beyond the fingers. We bring the head back. Right, we'll bring the forearm to the thigh. See if we can stretch that arm up and over. And then you might be able to go a little bit deeper up and down. This top hand can be on the hip also. You can hold here and even, just kind of go up and down a little bit. And then we'll come back up. From here, we're bending the knee, so pressing it to the heel to try to straighten that leg. And we'll bring that block to the calf, angled. So it might feel, like the foot, you could lift it up off the floor a little bit, okay? So you have to try and find that place where you can still feel the heel dig down more or less, and the calf pressing into the block so it keeps the leg straight, but you don't feel it in your knee. Extend the arms, and then from there, coming up and down from the top of your thigh. And we'll come back up. Can we move the block? Turn that foot in, come back to kneeling. Come forward, hands and knees. Okay. Let's move actually that block. You have still that block behind. So some options here would be tucking the toes under and then pressing back and coming up to standing. Or maybe you can press into the palms and almost jump the legs out. More of a wide leg forward bend, walk the fingertips in, bring the hands to the hips, lift from the chest to come up to standing, and then heel toe in. Of course, we may need to move our blanket, and we'll step back into our mountain pose. Move the blanket to the side. Okay. Coming into Tadasana, keeping the legs together if you can. Okay. Inner edge of your feet, inner ankle, that inner seam of your legs. Stand tall in Tadasana. Sorry, I just had to turn my heater down. Let the front hip bones lift up, front ribs move in. Feel the abdominal muscles engage. Swing the arms up and down a few times, okay? Nothing else in the body is moving. Getting that movement through the shoulders. And then out to the side a few times, and then all the way up and down. Okay. Then we'll bring the hands to the front, interlace the fingers, extend the arms up, coming back, change the interlace, and extend, and coming back and down. Okay. Now we're going to do a little bit of work more for the shoulders. So again, we're going to press back with the arms and see if we can start to bring the hands in closer, but not just kind of coming in at the back. keeping as much space as you can between your sacrum and the hands. Okay? So back and kind of crisscross, one over the other. Just do that a few times. Keep the shoulder bones not coming forward, rolling back. Okay, so we're repeating that a few times, and then see if you can catch that forearm. Keep the arms as far away from the spine as you can, and then release, and then repeat that, and then you might change which arm catches first, and then the other. Really roll the shoulders back, push the shoulders back, and then release, and let the arms release down. Okay, good. Then from here, feet are together. If you need, of course, feet apart for balance, knee, hip, back issues, feet apart. From here, we're going to, let's bring the arm out to the side, and we'll bend the elbow, okay? And just to work that rotation in the shoulder. Okay. So I know it looks a little robot-like, but we're just kind of feeling really the upper arm in that shoulder. And then the elbow, we can swing that rotation and the other way. Okay. And then we'll bring the arm down, and then the same on the other side. Okay, so we'll bend the elbow, and then it's kind of up and down. And then we can swing the elbow, or the forearm at the elbow, kind of get that swinging action. Okay, and then we can release. Shake out the shoulders a little bit. Now we're going to see if we can bring the arm up overhead and around, okay? Almost like you're, I don't know, sweeping, a piece of light material over you, okay? And bringing that over. You can go a little faster, and then we could go the opposite way. Good. And then we'll see, let's actually bring our hands to the hips. We'll bring a circular movement through the hips. So here you might find you need to bring the feet a little bit apart. You can go one direction and then the other. So you might find you're a little more balanced with the feet apart, okay? You can, feet together. So we're really working kind of center of gravity and our sense of balance with that center of gravity, okay? And then we'll bring that arm movement in with the hips. So we can pretend we're kind of lassoing, okay? And then the other arm. And how the arm helps to counterbalance, okay? Or maybe the body helps to counterbalance. So how you get the body moving in these poses to help the arm and shoulder. Okay, let's let that go. From our mountain pose now, we'll extend the arms out, kind of shake out the legs and hips. We'll step or jump the legs apart. Okay. So even here, you get that movement, your hips can move. We can move forward or back. We want to kind of find that center point. Front hips lifting, abdominals lifting up. The front lower ribs are poking forward, but moving in. And that we don't have one hip going more to one side than the other. And we don't want to lose that mobility, but right now we want to bring some stability to the legs and pelvis. So that as I turn the left foot in, right leg out, bringing the hand down and up. And just repeat that a few times. And then we can hold in our Utthita Trikonasana. Roll from the lower abdomen. Really open up through that back groin, rolling that inner groin up and back, pressing your back thigh bone back. Remembering this front leg, okay, as if you still have that block there at the calf. So you're not just flinging open the back of the knee, you're engaging the quadriceps, and really try to extend the arms. And inhale, come back up. We'll go to the other side. Right foot in, left leg out. Or whichever leg you're doing. I know some machines I have to mirror, others I don't. Sorry, I think on Facebook I do not have to mirror. So I might be saying the wrong leg. Can lift the front hips up. Watch that front calf. And then coming up and down. So think of that gate pose, right? Bending at the top of the thigh. And then we'll come up, turn in. If you need to heel toe in, step or jump back to mountain pose and stay a few breaths. Extend the arms, bend the knees, step or jump out. Let's bring the hands to the hips. So here we kind of get that elbow swinging, okay? Hands to the hips. Lift up through the front chest, really all the way from the hips up. And we're going to cut the back foot in a lot and turn all the way to the short edge of the mat. Think of the block still at that front calf. Okay, take a little wider stance. Just think that block so you get more of this lift up as opposed to pressing back. Okay, it's not just pressing this thigh bone back. We want to feel it lift up. Okay, like you're pulling up your tights. Lifting up, can you really coil those back ribs in? Can we bring the arms up? Catch the elbows. Lift and lengthen. Looking up. Bend the front knee now. Straighten the arms. Virabhadrasana 1. Levelize the head. We'll come back around. And we'll go to the other side. Back foot turning in. Front leg out. And keep that memory of the block there at your calf. So it's not just pushing the thigh back, but lifting up, really lifting and engaging, tightening in this back hamstring and glute. Can sweep the arms up, change the hold of the elbows, bend the front knee. Looking up by really arcing at the neck, not just falling in the back of the neck, that nice arc to the neck. Extend the arms. Press through that front foot. And then we'll come back up and around. Step or jump back to mountain pose. So now we're going to extend the arms. Step or jump out, reach behind. Okay, so sweep back, reach behind, catch forearms if you can. So now I'm not, keeping the arms quite far from the back. See if you can catch the elbows or forearms. And we're going to again turn all the way to that first side. Lift from the lower abdomen up, coil the back ribs, lift the chest. The sacrum moving in and up. Bend the front knee, looking up if you can, otherwise look forward. But try and roll your shoulder bones back and really clear that armpit area. Stretch the back leg. You feel that stretch in the front of your back leg as you activate the back of your back leg. Watch you're not gripping with your front toes, but press down. Not to necessarily straighten the leg, but push down. So you have that capability, we're not just sinking down, okay, lifting up. And then we'll come up and back to center. And I'll repeat and change that hold of the forearms. You can, holding all the way to the elbows. Okay, and we'll turn all the way to the other side. Firming that back leg, the front leg lifting up. Coil the back ribs, roll the shoulder bones back, bend the front knee, and again, we're not just sinking down, okay? Pushing it up to lift up, okay? Lift up as you slowly lower down. So there's a difference between sinking down and lowering down, keeping that lift. And we'll come up and back. Can release the arms, step or jump back to mountain pose, and stay a few breaths. From here, let's take a chair. We'll bring the chair or stool near a wall. Okay, put that near the the wall. I'm going to bring the hands onto the seat of the chair. Just stay here for a few moments to release your back. You can step back even a little bit. Feet about hip width apart. Lengthen through the sides. Bend the knees a little bit. Soften in the abdomen. Release any tightness in the back, especially the lower back. We come in. Okay. So I'm keeping the hip near the wall, really close to that wall. Okay, pushing it into the wall, and I'm going to sweep that leg up, not letting the hip bone lift up. Keep the sacrum flat. Okay, push the outer edge of your leg into the wall. If you can't even that outer edge of the foot, try not to let the foot turn. Right, outer edge lifting up, sternum forward. Modification of Virabhadrasana 3. This one can really bring stability into this pose, and then maybe extend that outer arm. Look forward, nice long neck. Don't just drop in the back and shoulders. Okay, lift those lower ribs and extend. Use that wall to give you that support. And then come back. Okay, let's step back to that modified downward dog pose. You can bend the knees, just release hips and back, soft through the abdomen. Let the spine lengthen. And then we'll walk in, come up to standing, and just turn your chair to the other side. We'll repeat that on the other side. Hands on the seat of the chair, and step back. Take a long, slow exhalation. So almost inhale, straighten the legs like you're filling a balloon, and then exhale, bend the knees, like you're using the thighs to almost deflate the lungs a little bit more. And then we'll come back in, shoulder, elbow, wrist in line, hip, knee, ankle in line. So we're making like a tabletop. I have my outer hip into the wall. Okay, levelize the hips, sacrum flat, sweep that leg up. Sorry, I've got to move my bolsters. And we don't want the hip to lift, right? Outer hip into the wall, outer leg into the wall, outer edge of your foot. Press it into the wall and really feel your inner leg extend also. Let it lift up and the inner heel move back. Okay. Not falling into the back, but lifting those lower ribs up, pulling the sternum forward. Standing leg doesn't lean forward or back. Okay. Perpendicular to the floor. You can extend that outer arm. Look forward. And then we'll come back, step back into our modified downward dog pose. Bend the knees, release in the hips and back. And straighten the legs. And step in towards the chair. Inhale, press to come up to standing. We'll turn our chair to the seat of the chair faces forward. And I'm not sure that the chair everyone's using, so I'll just show you what we'll do and we'll see how it goes. Okay. You might even work like maybe the end of a coffee table if you have a really sturdy square kind of coffee table, that might work also. I'm going to bring this bolster in front. You can use a pillow. You might just even need maybe a couple of blankets stacked, can work also. I'm going to come and sit the side of the chair, okay? And then I'm going to bring this outer leg, sweep it back so on the shin. And I have the foot coming off the bolster. Okay. So now I'm more on the shin. I've adjusted, now I'm more on the shin. The chair is just there for some support. 90-degree angle really at both knees, more or less. And we're trying to move this outer hip here, the lower leg forward without just pushing everything forward. Okay? So it's opening up, keeping the abdominals moving in, lower ribs moving in, glutes activating, hamstring working. And we're going to turn towards the seat of the chair. Don't let this front knee just fall out to the side, okay? You could even bring your hand to the outer knee as you turn, so you add to that resistance, so that knee doesn't just open out to the side. And then maybe you reach for the backrest of the chair. And then we'll come back. Now we're going to come forward. You can bring the fingertips to the floor, or you might need your block. Okay. Soften in the abdomen, in the back, in this position. And then we're going to now again turn towards the back, just down a little bit lower. Really feel as if those outer hips are being squeezed in towards each other. Okay. Slowly release. And then this next time you're going to repeat either the hand lower down to the inner foot and turning, or you can stay more upright if that feels better for you. Or this next time, if you're using the block, you bring it to the outer foot. See if you can hook, that elbow we were kind of using, hook the elbow to the outer leg, extend the arm, and revolve. And from here, this top arm might be able to reach up and over. You can keep it on the hip, on the chair. And then we'll come back, slowly come back up, and we'll go over to the other side so we can go all the way over. So I'm just going to take my block to the other side. Shin, center of the shin on the blankets or bolster, and the foot coming off for that space. More or less a 90-degree angle, and most of the weight's on that bottom shin. Please stay here. We can begin to turn towards the backrest of the chair. You might bring opposite hand to knee so that knee doesn't just fall out to the side as you turn. Keep the spine lengthening on the inhalation, the exhalation gently revolving. Don't feel that you're pinching off in any one part of your spine. It's a nice spiral. And then we'll come back. You can bring the hand to the inner foot on the floor. Okay. Or you might want the block. And then again from there, hand on the hip, hand on the backrest of the chair, whatever feels best for you. We begin to revolve. And slowly come back. Can bring the block to the outer foot. Okay, that elbow lifted up and over the knee. Straighten the arm, bring the hand to the floor or block. Turn towards the chair. Hand can be on the chair, the hip, or maybe that arm coming up and over the ear. And then we'll come back and lift back up, come onto the chair. Take our bolster, step the feet in a bit closer, bring the bolster onto the top of the legs. Feel the sitting bones centered, maybe closer to the edge of the chair, wherever you feel supported. Feet can be slightly apart also. And we'll do another little bit of a twist here. We can use the bolster, it can start to almost tilt a little bit as we turn. And then come back and to the other side. Forearms, it presses down. Really feel that skin from that back armpit coming around to the front. Keep the legs centered together. Even if they're apart, they're not, I guess, more swaying to one side or the other. And then we'll come back to the front. Separate the legs here now a little bit. Bolster. If you feel the bolster's too big, just use a couple of blankets. We're going to come forward over this support, okay? So I'm trying to bring it more or less into the top of the thighs here. Keep the front lower ribs moving in, but the abdomen moving back to come forward. And I hang here. If you feel that straining on the neck at all, take a blanket. You might just need a little bit more support. And take a bit of a blanket. So then you have something to rest your chin on. And I get those armpits supported. Okay? Minimize that space at that armpit area. You can even catch the forearms, rest the head. To the next exhalation, inhale, we'll come back up and move bolster, and remove the chair. Keep the blanket and just have the blanket folded maybe in half, or if you have a towel in half, you might fold it once more, making it fairly small. We'll come down onto the floor. If you like a bolster, an extra blanket for Shavasana, keep those because we'll be coming into Shavasana in just a moment, minute or so, minute or two. Keep this blanket though nearby. Come down on the elbows. Keep the knees bent, feet on the floor. Readjust hips and back. Take that blanket and lift or towel, lift the hips and bring that underneath the sacrum. So the sacrum's a little bit higher now than the shoulders. And it should feel nice and soft, supported for the lower back. Okay? It's not way up into the back and back ribs. Okay? Just the lower hips. Bring the right leg in towards the chest and extend through the back of the left leg. Bring that left leg in and switch and extend. They feel opening through this front leg. Stretch, release in the hip and abdomen. Let's repeat that one more time each side. So slide the straight leg in And catch the opposite knee as you extend. And then we'll go once more to the other side. And then we'll bring both legs in towards the chest. You might need to, readjust a little bit on your support. Really let the legs come in towards the chest. Those front ribs need to move in so the legs can move in closer. If it bothers your knees to hold the shins, you can always hang on to the back of the thighs. We'll release the arms to the sides. Keep the left thighs in though close to the chest, the arms at the sides. Press out through the heels. Okay. Open up the toes, lengthen the toes away from the toe mounds. Try and keep those outer shoulders moving down towards the floor. And then we'll just tilt, you're kind of tilted on the pelvis. So here I'm a little bit more in the back. Here I'm on the sacrum, just kind of rock a couple of times, back and forth. And then we'll come more into that sacrum again, extend the legs up. So it's a really mini Viparita Karani, and then we don't have the wall for the legs. You might, need to hold the legs or keep the knees bent and prop the legs up a little bit. But if you can, extending through the legs, press those outer shoulders down, lift up through the heels, really stretch the legs, give them that one last stretch. And then we can release, bring one foot at a time back to the floor. Pressing down through the arms, even bend the elbows. We get that upper arm to the top of the shoulder, press down through the feet and lift the hips. Lift and lower a few times. Really get that mid buttock lifting up. Remove the blanket or towel and slowly lower back down to the floor. Bring that blanket or towel for a few moments just onto the abdomen. Extend the right leg and then the left leg. Catch the sides of your mat. You might put a little bit of a bend in the knees. Center the pelvis, the shoulders. Extend the legs. You might open out that blanket. The arms and legs release completely. And if this Shavasana position feels all right, feels good for you, that you can relax and release the arms and legs, can stay like this. If you're feeling a little bit of strain in the hips or back at all, take the bolster behind the back of your thighs. Use the bolster to support the legs. And you can always take a second blanket or towel to support the back of the head and neck. Sometimes to go as minimal as you can be good so that we don't get attached to other things to support us. But when we need the support, we take it. So of course, if you're feeling any strain, hips back, then the bolster is necessary. You feel crunching in the neck or discomfort in the neck and shoulders, the blanket under the head. We extend out through the legs. The heels touch the floor, the feet release. Rolling more to the outer shoulder, the chest lift and expand as the back body releases to the floor. The eyes release inward. And to follow your breath. And that through the practice we created new space and pathways for the breath. The mind continued to release down to the heart. The eyes gaze inward, the eardrums move inward, and the nose around the nasal passages relaxing, the throat, the skin. We look inward, releasing the outer attachments from our worldly life. Let the breath bring a peaceful state to the mind, a reflective state. The awareness all the way to the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, and the scalp, each hair follicle. You can stay in this Shavasana as long as you would like. If you'd like to stay much longer, you can. If you're ready, you can bend the elbows and the knees, just very slowly, with ease. When you feel ready, you'll roll to the side first. Stay a few breaths before pressing to come to sitting. And whenever you do come to sitting, try to take that time to just sit for another even 3 to 5 minutes if you're able to. Maintain that steady, quiet, peaceful state within. Following the breath to keep in the present moment. Because the mind will begin to search out things beyond us, so we need to keep coming back to the breath, what's within. Vision, you can gaze to the heart, maybe that spark within. That radiate outward, each and every cell, bringing peacefulness, vitality. And thank you so much for joining me this evening. Have a wonderful